personaje no me gusta mucho. O sea, me das permiso a que haya emoción.
Te doy permiso para que haya emoción y es una cosa súper nueva en ti. Salpicar todo lo que puedas.
Miráis todo, miráis el...
Venga, María, ya, que se nos hace tarde. Bueno, buenos días.
Hi, good morning and welcome to a new press conference of the 17th edition of the San Sebastian Film Festival. Today it's a series, it's called Fácil, Simple. This is a series for the Gala, and it's produced by Movistar Plus. We've got the cast and some of the crew. I'm going to tell you who they are from the far end until here. We start with Domingo CORRAL, who is the original director of production of Movistar Plus. Hi. The actress Ana Marchessi. Hi. The actor Ana Castillo, who in this edition of the film festival has been here before. And the creator of the series, Ana COSTA. The actress NATALIA de MOLINA. Hi. The actress CORIA Castillo. Hi, good morning. And the executive producer, Sandra HERMIDA. Hi, and as there's many of you and there are a lot of people who wants to ask questions, I'm going to open the floor to the journalists. Otherwise, I'll ask a question. I'm not too sure whether anyone wants to ask an initial question. Yes, hi, good morning. For the creator of the series and the director, could you read the column of the author of the novel, and you've got anything to say about her opinion? Yes, you refer to Nazi, yes, signed by Crispina Modales. Yes, I did read that column and I answered her. What did I think about what she'd written in the column? Well, what did I answer? What did I answer her? Well, I said that I'd read what she'd written, the text, that undoubtedly and above all, freedom of expression, that she could express whatever she thought, but if she wanted to give an opinion about the series, perhaps we could have spoken beforehand as regards to what it means to write, produce and direct a series, and in any case, the only thing that she could have an opinion on is what she had received economically, the money she'd received, and that's all. Any other questions? Hi. For Ana Castillo and Natalia de Molina, I'd like to know what was it like, the process, that is to say, in order to construct these characters you portray, the fears you may have had, and to be brave enough to portray these characters. And also, how long, how much rehearsal, how was the work with your other colleagues, and also with Ana Costa in the shooting of the film? You want to answer? Well, for me, and I said it in a previous interview, for example, the projects that I felt most insecure when constructing my character, because at the end of the day I had to construct a character who was very subject or very tightly subject to the script and characteristics of which physically moving, that had to have a discourse vis-a-vis what the character, and I didn't think that I was going to do it correctly. It was a long process with Anna and with Laura and I. We thought many things. What could favor physically composing the character, movement and voice that could favor a character which was already written in the script. So I didn't have all the freedom at all, because Nati's character has a disability caused by an accident. She had the information that she had before the accident in the head, and then she had an emotional block as well. So therefore, constructing this and being honest and true to the script and what Anna wanted to tell about this character was a process, a lot of trial and error in order to hit elements that were honest and believable and coherent at the same time. Difficult, but easy or fácil or simple, perhaps. Obviously, fear. Well, I could talk for a long time about this, and also the creative process, because it has been a challenge in every different aspect. I dived in the deep end that I've never done before, and I arrived at places that I never knew existed, and I could never get there. So therefore it was a strong, well, it was very difficult to obviously address all of these insecurities, which is quite normal. We've all lived through this. What the series tries to tell, and the characters are quite complex, but also at the same time, it's like an act of love towards Marga and an act of love towards my profession, that is to say, what it means to be an actress, or what I understand what an actress should be. So anyone who sees it, it's quite obvious the work that's behind all of the construction of the vocal, body, mentally, spiritually, all of those elements, and that is also creates a certain amount of fear, but I'm aware that I'm more fearful of the community and feeling that I control things, or that I'm doing something that I feel comfortable. I could have done a Marga which was much more correct, but I thought if I did this, I was not going to be faithful to the character, and also creatively as an actress. I made it difficult to myself in order to try to approach portraying the role of Marga and her spirit, and obviously that's what's left of her, for example, freedom. And I could talk for hours and hours of many decisions and everything, how hard we've worked, and whether, well, we started to fine-tune the character, for example, the characters. Well, initially what you do is to hone the character from what Marga needed in this case. But I'm very, very proud because regardless of what anyone might think, the experience we've lived through, and I think we share as all of us, this is something that has changed us all, and no one can take that away from us, the experience. Yes, that experience. I'm not too sure whether the other two actresses would like to talk about their characters and explain their experience in the TV series. And if not, you don't have to, no problem. Well, I add on to what my cousins have just said. Basically, this is my first work in a fiction film, and initially, and even now, I was very afraid, a lot of insecurity and very fearful. And then to jump in the deep end, for example, for something so important, and without having a floater, for example, or something to help you float, and I was backed up by the team and the crew, and it has been very complicated, but also quite in turn gratifying, because it was a personal life and learning process. Everything about myself, and they as people, as actresses, and her as a director, every day was a gift. And above all, my biggest wish is everything that's been given to me, the world that has opened up to me, and what people can see and what they can feel, especially when they see the series Fácil, or Simple in English. In my case, it was my first fiction work, and it was like always, I was like an imposter. I had the imposter syndrome, that's what I felt. But when you're in a field, you feel so much warmth in the team and a family, and being the imposter, well, you go, let's forget about all that and throw it away. But at the end of the day, like the magic of feeling at all the time very protected between us all. It's been a learning process which has been great, professionally speaking, but especially at a personal level. I don't know. The experience has been unforgettable, the truth be said. Any questions? Hi, my question is for Ana, and could you talk about the other character in the film, in the series, which Bruna Acusí portrays? To what extent did you want to reflect the difficulties that social workers have? Because, and in turn, it seems that character is, the spectators focus on her because we want to empathy and help those girls. To what extent you wanted to reflect that in the series as well. The character of Yaya Weather is also in the novel, and all of the characters who work for the institution initially in the novel are the villains. They are the radical villains, we could say. I was very much interested in for it being completely the contrary to what happens, radically opposite to what happens in the novel. One thing is the institution and what the institution means, and the other are the people who work for the institution. Things happen to them, they get up and they've got grey hairs, they've got children, and they've got their menstrual cycle and so on and so forth. So for me, this meant it was a betrayal. It would be betraying the people, the fact of placing them only as if they were just the institution. From the beginning of writing the script, from my first meeting with Cristina Morales, I told her that it wasn't going to be like that. So therefore, giving actresses characters that represent the tough side or the harsh side of society, which is almost the Inquisition, those that establish the barriers and establish the rules, those that supervise, that prohibit and set up the rules, shall we say. That's their work, that's one thing, but they separately have their own opinion. So therefore, Bruna's character has her own opinion about the system, and what she tries to do is to approach them, shall we say, and provide them and give them rights and not only services. And that's what she tries to do with Marga, with her issue of her overwhelming sexuality, and this is a reality. There are foundations and there are people who work for the institution who do these things. They get fined, and these fines they have to pay, and they have to return the money to the Catalonian government. But they dedicate part of their money to providing them sexual specialists or specialists in sex. But nevertheless, in the case of Marga's character and sexuality, which Aya Agüedo defends, is that Marga should be provided a gigolo, a sexual assistant, but they don't exist. There are sexual assistants do exist for men that have disability, but there aren't sexual assistants, male ones, for women who have a disability. So therefore, it seemed to me that Aya Agüedo is an issue as a woman, as a young person, empathic as well, and of the time that we're living in now, she should defend this, I thought. But Clara Segura's character, who's an institutional character, which is much more conservative, more old-fashioned, shall we say, she said, well, listen, I've already gone through that. You're not going to manage to achieve anything. So, but for me, the intention of separating quite clearly who you are and what you represent, I hope that was quite clear in the series, but because it was of fundamental importance for me. Any other questions? Meanwhile, other questions may arise. I want to ask Anna, the director of the series, and also you can extend this to Domingo and Sandra. I think that the series proposes an interesting balance that exists between what is political and social, because we're talking about reality, and not only does the issue of how do we take in these people, there are issues, housing in the background, there's all the noise of the city, and it's just something quite large with the and then you've got the intimacy of the girls, and also comical, which I think you got it right, because these are actresses that are very good. They're very good, comically speaking, and you've addressed this in the film. In the series, there's a combination of politics, intimacy, and humor. I think it's very difficult to achieve, and I'd like to ask you about this process from the outset, and Domingo and Sandra as well. Why get involved in a project which is very complex originally, but even though it is resolved at the end of the day, but it's quite a difficult way to obviously approach this from the outset. Yes, me? Okay. The tone of the series, it was quite clear from the beginning, or shall we say, the Bible. We didn't want it to be a social issue and a social denunciation, shall we say, or because it's immovable for me. Everything we place in fiction denouncing this situation. It seems that it belongs to something that you show it and it can't be moved once you've displayed it, so to speak. I thought it was interesting displaying it in living the day-to-day of these characters and the conflicts they encounter. The comedy is inevitable for me. That's how I see life, and anything that I write, that's the way it comes out. I don't know. And what was the third element? Intimacy, yes. Well, of course. Intimacy is very important to make it a whole, because you can't, if you don't show intimacy, you only go halfway vis-a-vis the actors. In Art de Madrid, or Madrid Burning, there was a wide range of the most intimate, that is, from the girl's underwear and all the way to the stone, shall we say, in that series. But I think you've got to be honest vis-a-vis showing everything of the characters, because if you only show this shell, you do serve the plot of the film, but you don't understand the human side of things, and showing intimacy is a fundamental importance to understand the humanity of these characters. I think it's a question which is a question that anyone who's read Christina's novel would ask. That is to say, you can't adapt it, or it's inadaptable, shall we say. Domingo will complete this, but me as a producer, what I decided to do was to undertake it, get involved in Simple or Fácil because of faith, my faith in Anna. I read the novel, and Anna told me to read it, and I read it, and I said, why, and how? Why, how, and what for? When she said, no, because I want to make it, I said, when? And so therefore we went on to the next stage. And so therefore we went, talked to Domingo, and Anna went to Domingo and talked to Domingo. But the truth is, as a producer, I move basically because of the stories, and also from points of view, because as a spectator, in points of view, it's not what you tell me, which is very important, undoubtedly, but how, what's your point of view, what do you want to tell? And without knowing her point of view, I already believed in her point of view. I knew that her approach, anthropologically and socially speaking, and politically, her sense of humor, her way of analyzing what's the smallest to the largest elements were going to excite me as a spectator. I wanted to see the film. It was almost egotistical, basically why I formed part of the project. Well, just adding on to what Sandra said, like Natalia says, we love being uncomfortable. In Movistar Plus, we don't like to feel comfortable, and this series was a high-risk one. And I read what Anna was reading, and I thought it couldn't be adapted, impossible to put on TV. After reading the novel, if we've made this series, it's because of Anna. And I also say thank you very much to drive Movistar Plus to be brave and to do things that we wouldn't do in any other way. But we did this thanks to you, so therefore you're a creator who has a unique point of view. When you finished Art de Madrid, or Madrid Burning, which is the most successful Movistar Plus series, you had many paths to take. All of them were much, much easier to choose, and you took the most complicated and the most difficult one, which was this one. And I think you've got it right. It's been very successful, and it's a series that we feel very proud of.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Me pongo colorada.
Oh, I'm blushing.
No debes, es maravilloso.
You shouldn't. The series is marvelous. I read the book. I didn't even feel like to read any controversies. I don't know what you talked about, and I really don't care. The important thing is you made a series which is very different, very beautiful, very well portrayed marvelously well portrayed by all of the actresses. And I think it's very different, above all, because to me, I'm just a normal run-of-the-mill person. I've seen things that I've never seen, and I've understood things that I've never understood before. And above all, finding, shall we say, normal things in things of which I consider that weren't normal. So thank you very much to all of you. Anna, what I would like, could you defend this series for the audiences as a very fun product, because it's entertainment, and the girls, apart from congratulating all of you, the work inwards, for example, of Anna, and the work outwards by Natalia, you're marvelous. I don't even know what to say, and the same to you. So therefore, could you please talk about not what your work has been, but your feelings giving life to these very different characters? Thank you.
¿Quieres empezar?
Do you want to start? No?
Vale, yo personalmente, hay una cosa
Personally, there's something that I like a lot about Nati, my character, which was, shall we say, the key so that I could start to work on her when I understood which way I could go. That has a lot to do with, there's a person sequestered, shall we say, or kidnapped within an emotional disability and an expressive disability. So therefore, this helped me a lot in order to give a life from the inside, shall we say, and give a range and scope, because it's difficult to express within her characteristics, physically and emotionally speaking. So therefore, this way of finding Nati's fragility, for example, which is a very hard and a very tough character, to find the fragile side of her, I found it within this emotional sequestering of her emotions. Well, initially I approached it, like I said before, with a lot of fear, but the character of Angels, I fell in love with her slowly but surely, and then I discovered there were many more things that linked me to Angels that made me different. And also, it was a discovery to all of these things that quite often people who are not quote-unquote normal, we separate from that person how they act, how they look, and what their day-to-day life is. And if we pay more attention to them, we realize that they're not very different to any of us, of how you feel, of giving love and affection. So therefore, I can't separate Angels from me, because I take her with her. I take her with me, and my family, my partner. Quite often I make remarks, or I do things. She says, "That's very Angels-like, isn't it?" And I go, "Yes, that's true, because I'm going to keep her forever. She's a person that I've met, as full part of me, and that has enriched me very much." For me, I liked how it was portrayed with Marga's plot, and in general with everyone's plot, the perversion of the system, for example, which is it's more and more dishumanized, and empathy, for example, is one of the diseases or illnesses, apart from narcissism and being egotistic, for example. We're living in times which are very violent. There's a lot of turmoil, and people such as these women are raped and violated and manipulated. For me, that I've experienced it making the film or making the series, and I could research this. We live in a system which is very perverse. And as a woman, and as she said, when I had those fears, I said, what am I doing here? Because I'm not going to be able to portray this role. And I realized there are many more things that linked me to Marga than separated me from her as a woman. And I think this is quite coherent with the work that I've constructed in the past, and quite good fortune as directors like Anna and other directors asked me to work to tell stories like this, and to make visible things that are people don't want to listen to, and people don't want to tell. And it's very important and quite a novelty in the series, apart from the fact that it's very humoristic, and that's magic, obviously, and the rhythm, and how punky it is, and how it's it transgresses a lot. And I thought we needed something, and how great it is to see something like that. How much freedom and what good fortune to form part of this. I'm a bit nervous, excuse me, form part of something like this. The truth has been a gift for all of us, and I believe that, of course, and it's very robotic. There's over-information, what we live at, the fakes, the filters on Instagram, for example, mathematics, algorithms, and all of a sudden you find projects where it's all quite similar because it doesn't belong to mathematics, and art has got to do with, is not mathematics at all. It's not tangible at all. It has to do more with what is intangible in life, and this series has all of these things and makes sense to what we do, or gives sense to what we do. In the case of Patri is a person who has had to repress herself, and she's self-convinced herself that the only way to maintain her current and independent life is to defend these rules which are much more strict for her than for the supposedly normal people. And this has been quite curious going through this, because this various discipline with some people and with others no. And Pati's journey is quite interesting as regards this issue. And you keep it for yourself. That is the effect of questioning what the system is like. The system is not good at all, that's all I can say. There's something that I think is important to address and give value to the series. For example, Natalia, when she said everything is very uniform and we see so many series, they may be good or bad, but quite often you've got the feeling that they're all quite similar. But when you see a series like Fácil or Simple, from the visual proposal and experience, it's thinking, it gives you a direction. My interpretation, which is one of many, because there are many types of spectators, is that you've managed to see that the series is realistic and you recognize a specific reality, but in a way, it's gone through a filter, the filter of how the protagonists look at it, and you've translated that very well from the artistic direction, photography, the way you direct it. And I'd like to know a bit, because sometimes this happens with series in which the issues and topics are so important that we forget about the images. And in this case, it's a series which is quite exotic in that sense. There's a moment in which you've got the feeling that everything is quite too similar, and I would like to address this issue with you. Well, albeit it's true, everything you say, because everything is thought and worked upon in that sense. It was already in the script. That is to say, from the script, everything that appears in the series was already in the script. Unfortunately, every time I write, I go down to hell, and those of you who have accompanied me know that, but unfortunately, I think it's the only way is to achieve good results. So everything that you're talking about was already in the script, because the person who reads the script, practically, I can almost bet on this, has to understand what they're going to see later in the series. And I think, and I'm very, very proud, because all of those who have followed the script process know that it's 100%. It's in the series as such. And everything that you're saying is an initial goal. They've not been layers that have been added subsequently. No, not at all. And especially Fran Araujo, who knows this quite well, who has accompanied me day to day, writing the script, and Sandra, of course, who had always telling me horrible things all the time, and also good and positive things, but that's the way these processes are. Okay, let's not tell all of these things in front of these people. No, I think everything that she says, it wasn't random, it wasn't, and then the DOP comes along and made a proposal. Yes, he's done a great job, but I'm referring to the fact that conceiving, that's how the series was conceived. The scripts there was a design of a universe, basically, because the truth be said, that tone that can be noticed, that mixture between humor with social political criticism and the intimacy of the characters, create all of that from a point of view which is almost a standard, but then unique, in a very unique way, was already in the script. Yes, of course, and that, when it's in the script and you have to look for it separately later, I think that what you say, it can be seen in this series almost artificially, that is to say, it's not compact to show us how you can see it, the different layers. However, when I go all the way down to hell, as I said before, and I've always got the objective of all of this is already in the script that's been written, it makes me feel very proud that you express it that way, because it's one of the primary objectives. One of the primary objectives is everything that the actresses have said as well, because for me it's been a very tough job of writing the script. It's not easy to write characters that have a degree of disability that you don't have when you're writing, but you've got to know that I'm as disabled as all of them, and to a certain extent, or in a certain way, the four of them are a one woman, like I could be, or like all of the women who are here today, in the sense that Patri is the woman who is obliged to follow the rules to continue to stay inside. Nati, for example, has continuously complains that she knows what's not right, at what politically is so deep-rooted in society that Nati doesn't understand, nobody understands how the hell we go through all of these things, and undoubtedly sensuality and sexuality of Marta that we all have. Up until a little while ago, it was always hidden and almost taboo, from sex to menstruation and all the way through to menopause, and Angels, who's the caretaker. But with these four, I was capable of writing these characters because all of these elements are in me. I'm a mother, I'm a writer, I take care. I've got to be more established rules sometimes, and undoubtedly until I die, I'm going to say what I think. Just like Nati. Okay, a phrase like that is a perfect way to close this press conference. Thank you very much to the whole team of Fácil, those that are here and those that are also in the front row in the audience for this series. I think we need more fiction that breaks the norm and that can be original and honest. And thank you very much to all of you for being in this press conference. Thank you.